incline. Check the radio, pit crew is far from slow. The lights no longer yellow. Ready, steady, go. Crank it up. Oh, it's racing. 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 In love with the ride. Burning rubber smells real nice. Fuel it up once or twice. Come on, fast is the way to drive. Crowds all on their feet, not one bothered by the heat. Imagine them in the driver's seat. Checkered flag would be sweet. Crank it up. Oh, it's racing. 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 Everybody get ready. On your feet. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Crank it up. Crank it up. Oh, it's race day. 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 Crank it up.
With just one last race at hand and one last moment at stake, anything is possible here on PTM Racing TV, and these drivers are about to find out just how and why here and now. Hi everyone, I'm the Crusader, Chris Stroud, joining you guys here today, lined up out on the track and lined up ready to go racing. Our final four are set. Aaron Smith, Brian McCann, Tim Schofield, and Chris Mefford, all searching for a championship caliber season ender with this race here at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California, presented in part by our friends at Spartan Logistics Management LLC, R&R Racewear, the official merch store for your iRacing needs and the IROC Challenge Series, Loud Pedal Gaming TV, smashing the loud pedal for your viewing entertainment, SimSpeedShop.com, Track Time Entertainment, and 5-Star Graphics. So one last big thank you before we kick this season championship off here in Fontana to them and you fans at home for coming on board. Race fans, we're getting set to go for the action here, and we're getting ready for the racing. It's time to chit chat and talk down with the boys and see how they are ready to go with this star-studded lineup on the verge of some hard charging, some hard balance weighing their stake. And the first one to come up on the show right now, ladies and gentlemen, is David Brown here in the 7 machine. And David, what a long season it's been, man. We've had some ups, we've had some zig downs, but it seems like here in this later stages, man, you gave it everything you had and really went to pull off it all to the end, didn't you?
Yeah, just having a blast out here. Love watching the show afterwards too. You're doing a great job. But, looking forward to the next season. Had a good run here at the end. Struggled a bit in the beginning of the season, but and struggled a bit on this track trying to figure out where to go. But I'll watch the pros here and just have a bunch of fun tonight.
This being a big, wide open layout and track style here, I got to believe that this next gen car may have some issues kind of figuring out where it wants to go and where it wants to play at, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's so many lines you can run here, and I think the top. I think I'm going to try the top a lot tonight to try and save tire wear. That seems to be pretty quick. But yeah, there's 5 lanes. Pick one. Who knows where you want to go.
For sure there. Well, nevertheless here, David, we really do appreciate coming on board for all this time here. Best of luck as you go for one more time around the track here on the show.
Thank you much, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, David E. Brown having a little chat with us here as he gets ready for his big time on the track. One last little hurrah for him and his crew. Take a listen down here, though, real quick here with our drivers here in the number 12 here as Tim Schofield now joins me here. And Tim, you know, I know you talked about it last week. You said you weren't even expecting to really be in this picture, in this hunt, but with that win and that position now giving you a seesaw chance here at Auto Club, do you think maybe the strategy could come into play here for this crew?
Yeah, strategy is going to be keep the car clean and see what I can learn in the first 2 stages. I've got a lot of work to do to pick up some time.
Pick up some time, pick up some momentum here, and really, I'll ask you this too. I mean, where are you seeing the line on the track here for you and your crew, and how bad do the tires kind of take from bottom to the top?
Well, I think the bottom's going to be where you're going to pick up the most time, but I'm not so sure on the tire fall off. I kind of got minimal practice this week, but yeah, moving up typically saves tires, but might not be worth the time lost.
For sure there. Well, nevertheless, we'll have to see if it is going to be that is the case or what's going to happen. But nevertheless, Schofield, best of luck as you aim for a season championship.
Thank you.
Tim Schofield, ladies and gentlemen, the number 12 going for a title here. As is this man here in the number 3, ladies and gentlemen, Brian McCann coming on board now here. And Brian, as we get set to go for tonight's action here, I mean, if there was an odds-on favor, definitely one of them would have to be you in this case. But you're coming out in a hot shot spot, in a hot shot area. I mean, how big is this race for you and your crew?
It's a big race. I put in 100 laps on one setup, and we got in here and the setup's a little bit different, so I'm having to relearn. So hopefully everything I learned in the test session translates over, but so far it's had a rough qualifying and trying to basically just relearn.
Basically try to relearn here, and we'll ask this too. I mean, with the way these cars have been all season round on the 1.5 mile and on this 2 mile long, how is it when it comes to having a battle side by side on this kind of surface and terrain? I would think the beat-up surface of Auto Club makes it a little bit more difficult to work around, doesn't it?
I'm sure side by side is going to be a challenge. I haven't tested that yet. The only thing I got to test with my brother there during practice was just being out in front and being behind him, which, you know, draft on these cars, it changes the dynamic quite a bit. So that was interesting. So it's going to be interesting to see how the race goes.
For sure there. Well, you're one of the only 2 drivers looking to get a rare feat and get the first of the 2 championships in a season stake. So best of luck out there, sir.
Thank you.
Brian McCann, again, he's the only driver besides Aaron Smith who could possibly get the coveted championship slot twice. Out of the 4 seasons we've seen these drivers come on board, we are now about to witness ourselves a haymaker and a half, as this field of drivers has now settled themselves down. It has been a wild get around and a wild position to be put into, but now the time has come, presented in part by R&R Raceware. This is your grading order tonight for the final race of their season. Kevin McCann is your number 1 starter in the 33, with his outside being the number 1, Aaron Smith. In row 2, Chris Mefford in the 486, one of the other drivers in the championship hunt, looking to go at it in the 3rd slot, but his outside's David Brown in the 7. Row number 3, you heard him just talk a minute ago. Brian McCann may not have got the best qualifying time, but still good enough to be in the top 5 in the 3, while Chris Wally pilots it in the 5 and the 6th slot. Row number 4, Tim Schofield is going to be in the 12, the other one of our championship drivers going at it, with Cook Quick in the 54 on his outside. Row 5 is Doug Wysocki in the 34 with Matt Kopp in the 22. In row 6, Jeff Napier in the 40 with Neil Quick in the number 2, and Ray Radford is going to round out the field in the 47. And race fans, the time has come. The time is here. This is their season concluding race. Fontana, California, you're about to witness quite the treat as 13 drivers make the field. 4 are out for a championship hunt. Our field is now driving alongside the track, driving around the plains into the field, set to go for tonight's action. This couldn't get any bigger and couldn't get any better if you tried to even call it that way. This field of drivers is now set to go as we reel them off down to the distance off of turn number 4, this time by race fans. They're on their feet, they're up in the grandstands, ready to hit it up. 50,000 in attendance, flashbulbs flying off, the field is set, and we're racing. Gavin McCann already dealing there, and Smith with the number 1 there right behind him. Remember, Smith does not need to win the race. He just needs to stay ahead of 3 other drivers in this case. This is how much the playoffs are going to kind of change everything around for these boys. Usually they were battling each other left and right. Now they had to flip-flop and change their strategy out. A 150 lap race. Even the best will have to strive and conquer here. Ryan McCann here already making up some lost time in track positions. David E. Brown going topside, maybe trying to save the tires early. And Tim Schofield going to the bottom as well early. You remember he said right at the beginning of this, it may not worth the risk to drive on the outside. If it means trying to save tires up, maybe worth trying to just stay out of the bottom and just trying to work around that. That seems to be the strategy so far. Chris Mefford on the 46 now running right behind the other driver that is ahead, as he currently is right there on Smith's back bumper. Mefford so close, so many times, so many bad spots put in this season. He does have a race win though, at least to his credit. Every one of these 4 drivers has a race win, if not at least multiple versions of them. Aaron Smith flat out was just a pure dominant maniac when it came to race wins. Same with Brian McCann. But compared to last season, I mean, frankly, if you ask me, Aaron Smith was kind of honestly the lone wolf of the bunch. He just kept on winning, he kept on racing it out with these boys and taking positions over like left and right like they were nothing. But this season, it seems as though once they got that 670 horsepower package implemented in these next gen cup cars, then all of a sudden it was a whole nother dynamic, and Brian McCann was able to use his talents, skill, and perfection to speed things along and make his way around the track here. Makes you kind of wonder though, will he be able to do the same thing here today with the way these performances and the way these drivers are coming off the track? Chris Wally in the 5-year winless this season, but had a great showing in the playoffs as well. Made it through a couple rounds, unfortunately fell victim and fell down to the ever-elusive troublesome spot that is the hard racing antics of these cats and these guys in the iRacing IROC Challenge Series. Nobody was safe from the maniacs and the headaches that some of these races can bring to them. Chris Mefford in the 46 kind of trolling around right now here. He's just keeping himself in contention early, but remember, Mefford knows he cannot let the nerves get to him. He needs to stay focused, and I will say this right now, I will probably leave him alone, and I will also leave Aaron Smith alone for the rest of this race here, due to the fact that I do not want to give them the old broadcaster curse. If they message me and say, or if I get a word down there saying they're okay to talk with me, then I'll bring him in. But rather leave them alone, let them focus on the track. It's going to be already difficult enough as it is just trying to win a championship out. Believe me, I've been in their shoes before when I had to deal with Homestead Miami Speedway and somebody was just a little faster and I was having to do in-race reporting too. It wasn't exactly the easiest thing to do, I'll say. It kept the mental focus and mental struggles really out on the track, to say the least. Doug Wysock and the 34 are now side by side there with the 5, Chris Wally, as the field continues to pace themselves around. Jeff Napier in the 40 here. What a season he had, man. Had some great shining moments in there. Led a couple laps, had a few good times in there, and really, in my opinion, was kind of a ghostly figure. He was kind of assassinated when he could, but he was mostly kind of stayed right in the background, away from the hot dogs and the hot speedsters that usually plague through these races. I want to talk about another guy that tried to make some noise out here on the show a lot. I'll tell you one thing, this 22 Matt Kopp, he was always one of those guys that you came on the show and you would know he was going to be able to try to do something here or see what he was going to be putting up on the track. Julian Conde saying, what's up, Chris? Hey, Julian, good to have you on board here, sir. And I don't think he's talking about Chris Mefford down there. I believe he was referring to me here in the booth. But yeah, it's always confusing when you hear Chris and Christian on the track, so my bad. Neil Quick there in the number 2 right now, following it up down on the back end here, trying to hang up there with Chris Mefford. As Mefford stays in the middle lane, you can see Neil Quick. Well, I think Neil's not exactly too happy about the fact that his season kind of got derailed and thrown out the wall here, to say the least. Once a promising start, ended up going into absolute disaster in the late stages. Back on around right now here. Field's still in contention, still on the hunt right now, on the verge. Looking at the lap counter here. Remember, they got to be careful about the stages, of course. I believe stages will be at lap 75 today for our first get. Deb Schofield definitely doing what he said earlier on, though. He's going to lay back and stay out of the way for a little while. Watch the pros kind of go out of here and see what he can bring up to the table later in the race. Well, he's doing that right now and then some, because currently he's been keeping a close tab and a close eye on Mefford and McCann Smith. Hey, look at this. Kevin McCann, despite the huge lead he's got, Brian McCann actually is able to move up into the second spot. Aaron Smith moving back one in this case there. Aaron Smith, the only driver that could possibly be able to do the unthinkable and go back-to-back seasons with a championship in his threshold and in his place. But to do so, he's got to find a way around the heavy artillery and the madness that is the 3 of Brian McCann. Brian has been so close so many times to taking the top honors. Kevin McCann last season, we thought honestly he was going to be the one that was going to take Aaron Smith to the wire in the end, but the points race kind of died off and he lost a little bit of time down there. He said this season he was just going to have to deal with what he got, and Kevin unfortunately couldn't keep coming around here and racing as much, so really had to lay off and really lack off on the track racing and the positions he used to deal with. For Brian McCann, though, it was pretty much full sail where his brother left off at. And Aaron Smith, well, kind of doing much the same. So you got 2 completely connecting stories here. The speedsters of the 3 and the 1. And then you got the strategists of Mefford and the 46 and the 12 of Tim Schofield. And then you got kind of the other guys in the back here just doing whatever they feel like, kind of wherever they can see on the race wind here. Take a look at our lap gain here and lap time strategies here, and you can see this is not exactly what Kevin McCann was kind of hoping for here, but the draft is starting to become a bit of a factor here. between him and Brian McCann and the number 1 of Aaron Smith. You can see the track is starting to fade off a little bit, starting to get a little bit more racy. I would say with the colder weather and colder air temperature down here in Auto Club Speedway, the tires are not going to burn up as quick, but that does not mean for 1 second that this race will be any easier to work around. It is still extremely difficult track to really master and contend with when it comes to a long run. On a short run, it could be an absolutely chaotic race. Because we've seen 3 wide, we've seen 4 wide, heck, I've even seen a 5 wide salute here before. Literally at the peak and the performance and the pinnacle of that kind of race, that kind of style. Nobody is safe on these kind of big tracks and these wide open bankers, man, I'm telling you. Matt Kopp in the 22 up on the outside, working around there with Jeff Napier in the number 40, as Chris Wally in the 5 still hanging on. Cook quick in the 54 nearly looked like he was about ready to get inhaled by the guys in the back there. Looked like he was going to try to take them for a bit of a ride, take them for a bit of a run here. They are coming up fast, they're coming up quick here, trying to make a move out, trying to get some kind of run in the distance. Napier on the outside in the 40, trying to hang on as the 54 Cook quick. Puts it down to the bottom here. Doug Wysocki. Well, probably one of the only guys I would say that's actually just kind of staying low and letting it run. Wysocki, man, I tell you, there was ever a cool cat that just never really had anything to worry about. Never really was too obscene about how he raced and too obscured about how he was battling out on the track. I'd say I'd probably give it to him there. He's always laid back and a fun cat to deal with. But I will say too, he can get speed underneath him and he can really use some opportunistic lines when he has to. But this season really, he just kind of came out here and did his own thing and called it good. And you know what? I'll give him credit for it too. It worked. Dropping them down the back straightaway here. The field is starting to spread out a little bit though, as Kevin McCann, Brian McCann, Aaron Smith farther ahead there of Medford, Quick, and Brown. Still kind of hanging around the mid-level pack here. It looks like he's still trying to figure the strategy out and trying to figure out how these guys are going to work. Chris Medford looks like he's trying to use a little bit of that workaround from Neil Quick here, but I can tell you one thing, Neil Quick and him still probably not seeing eye to eye after Martinsville Speedway. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about there, you can feel free to click the YouTube link that is in our YouTube page there. And while you're at it, if you haven't already, subscribe there so you never miss any of our live action coverage. And yes, we do have live action coverage there. That comes from time to time, and it's pretty cool to see. Despite the fact that they said earlier on that the outside was going to be more for tire saving, honestly, I'm seeing a lot of push, a lot of run down there on that outside line, comparatively also with what the bottom lane's doing. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think there could be multiple angles being used here. I think there could be multiple lines for these guys to really work off from. 2 miles long in length here at this track. Without a shadow of a doubt, is one of the tougher tracks these guys will race on, period. And this track can get the speeds upwards of over 196 miles per hour. It's fun to note, though, that this place is designed and modeled after a track you guys might know all too well as Michigan International Speedway. The only difference is the bankings were just a little bit shorter than Michigan's bankings, and designed up really to make it more towards an IndyCar finesse kind of series slash a NASCAR kind of style driving series. So if you ever wondered why it is shaped like a V-shaped configuration, it's why it's kind of got that cookie cutter style form. That is the reason why. But it certainly makes for an interesting little interesting fact or two, as it is designed and manufactured by the man that owned Michigan National Speedway, and that was Roger Penske. Fun fact too, Auto Club is actually one of the only tracks, and I believe and is still the only track technically in NASCAR history to actually have received a cup date before it was ever even brought to fully market and fully life. So if you can believe it, this track, when it was literally being built and renovated, it wasn't even ready for a cup date, much less even ready for anyone to call any races here. And yet they got themselves a date booked in, which back in that day was way too hard to get. Kevin McCann kind of laying low for a little while, but his family member Brian's still hanging up there with him. Remember, stage points, they don't matter. The stages are merely just to kind of keep everybody in a nice position, a nice little pace here. The biggest thing they're going to have to worry about, again, is going to be literally when they get to the white flag. If they ain't in front or they ain't in a certain spot, then they got to start worrying a little bit, because that's where they're going to have to start timing and pacing themselves in quickly before it's too little too late. Field definitely spread out quite a bit here at Auto Club as the drivers continue to just kind of lay low or lay thin. Again, just trying to avoid trouble, trying to avoid any problems here, and keeping themselves in contention throughout this race and throughout this time zone here. But again, so much at stake and so much on the line. There's a real big chance here that I think some of these guys may get a little bit impatient coming really late into the race with about 20 laps to go. I think you're going to start seeing a lot of guys starting to push and shove their way up and around town and trying to get some momentum quicked in there. Chris Bedford in the 46 right now, coming up quick, coming up fast, up on the outside line. Look like he might have something coming up for him here. Still hasn't quite found that speed though that I would think maybe he would like to see, and maybe that he would like to really get a full clip of. Neil Quick kind of keeping a close tab, a close eye on Chris Bedford, though. I think maybe he might be trying to help himself and him a little bit by staying in that draft line, staying in that draft chute, again with the clean air that these cars need to have, and these cars really used with those diffusers down there on the back end. You actually see them right there. There's that diffuser that goes right on the back of the car. It's actually built onto the chassis itself. These cars have the same chassis, same build, same everything. The only thing that they're able to really change is the steering offset and that steering ratio. And that's what makes this car so unique and so absolutely challenging to master. Because you're literally having to deal with the same kind of configuration with only so many little nicks and trannies you can fix up. Really it boils down to who can outsmart the tires, the strategies, and the rest of the drivers. But in my opinion, it also makes for one key factor, which is everybody is on equal footing. It is on an equal ground level. They must race the heart's contention. They must also race against the rest of this crew at full speed and full power if they want any chance to strive down here. Aaron Smith still pushing his luck a little bit, trying to get up on Brian McCann's end here. Still looking for an opening or two. Aaron trying to keep up the distance, trying to keep it close, keep it right on the center point. This is something you'll see a lot of today, as guys getting right up into that position and then right into the mix of things and then looking for an opportunity to strike from it. Field still spread out by a bit of a margin or two here as the field, as you see the rest of the boys kind of keeping their distances, trying to keep up with the guys. Still not a whole lot of openings to really take from the track yet, or really from the drivers. You'll see it too a lot, where a lot of guys just continue to look for openings when they can get to them, and they're not going to get much of them. And it's not for a lack of trying again, it's just because it's so darn difficult to really stick into the pace and stick under control of the power here. It's a major momentum boost and a major setback when you can't seem to get this car to just drive up quicker and really stabilize down faster. Yo Quick still looking on though, as he is currently, I would say, probably being the watcher in the sky. No pun intended in my favorite bands out there, Ghost. Currently keeping his eye up on the 46 of Chris Mefford. Mefford again, you know, man, this cat right here has just been finding himself in so many varieties of racing, looking constantly at finding speed, finding momentum, and really dealing with the added pressure that he's put on himself and put on his crew to get better and better with the crew. As Aaron Smith has gone into pit road, he is the first one to do so in a bit of a surprise spot. Well, actually second one to do so. Cook Quick actually beat him out by 1 lap, but Smith going into pit road this early, I think kind of really tells you all you need to know about what his strategy is. I think he's really looking at trying to get only necessary tires, only necessary fuel, and then from there just go absolute full haymaker and hope that it will work out in his way, in his style racing. But that does move Chris Mefford into the 3rd spot, which is only in the 2nd of the playoff 4, with Brian McCann currently still marching around with that 33 of Kevin McCann. Alright fans, so far it's been interesting on how they play the strategy and how they put the positions in, but with pit stops now about to be made, who's going to be the one that takes full advantage? We'll find out when we return. Well, tonight's race, ladies and gentlemen, has been presented in part by our friends at Spartan Logistics Management LLC, by R&R Racewear, the first official merchandise store for iRacing and the Challenge Series. Big thank you from us here at the R&R Racewear crew. And Loud Pedal Gaming TV, smashing the loud pedal for your viewing entertainment. By SimSpeedShop.com. By Track Time Entertainment. And by 5 Star Graphics from the IROC Challenge Series and all of us here at PTM Racing TV Studios. Thank you so much for your support this season in this from all ends and all walks of life here. Without you guys, this season would not be possible for these drivers, and this series would not have been possible to begin with. Kevin and Brian McCann have now entered into pit road. Chris Medford joins them, as well as Chris Wally and Jeff Napier and Matt Cobb entering into the fray. Aaron Smith, though, is the one they're going to all have to watch out for as he brings the number one back out and around, looking to set the tone early for himself. Real quick now, finally getting it to slow down. He'll actually hit it down into pit road as he looks to try to hit a perfect pit stop here. Got a great deal of speed and lines it up perfectly. Doug Wysocki doing much the same as well as Tim Schofield. Tim Schofield here, really, in my opinion, is probably going to be the Iron Man of the crew here, because his strategy is really not speed oriented, but more or less control oriented. So if he can control the narrative of the track and really keep himself out the longest and in more of a favorable position, I mean, I hate to say it, but you may have all your hands full with him around. I'll say that much. Aaron Smith taking the race lead away. A little bit of pacing, a little bit of battling here down off the corners of turn number 2 here, as we've got a battle between Neil Quick and David E. Brown on the number 7. Both guys coming off the reins, coming off the positions here, looking to try and outsmart and outplay the other here. Brown dictating the pace, really setting himself up as an example point, really keeping up his momentum on the shots. But again, you know, how long will it end up playing, as there's trouble down there for Chris Wally in the 5, and there's a caution out for the first time today. First time today, and this is a bit of a shocker here. And it goes on Chris Wally, the PTM replay presented by R&R Racewear. Yeah, everything looked pretty good here, but then watch right there, you see the rear end just completely kick out. And even with it being 2 miles long, it don't matter nothing to these cars. The bankings aren't going to save you here, and the 5 of Wally learns that the hard way. Learns that the hard way, but he will get everything refired as we're still under stage 1 right now. It's time to chat down here with the boys here and see how they feel after this little go around. We'll see now with the positions as we listen in with Jeff Napier in the number 40. And Jeff, you know, it's been a season, my friend, and we've talked about it constantly about how much you'd love to come out here and try to race these boys up a few spots, race these guys in the best of their positions. But I mean, I gotta admit too, it's been fun to have you on the show when we see you here, sir.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been a fun season. I mean, of course, I came in about mid-season, but you know, it's been pretty fun overall.
Yeah, it's been fun overall. It's been kind of wild too. I mean, Well, this next gen Cup car versus what they dealt with the Truck Series and now have to deal with the Xfinity Series coming up. How much of a change really was it for you and this crew to have to kind of undergo and deal with as you went on through these seasons?
You just have to go with the flow, really. It's all you can do, you know.
Absolutely. Well, nevertheless, your Napier, we do appreciate you coming on board once again. Have a little chat. Best of luck as we get you down and going here once again.
Yeah, thank you. Me and David, Matt, and Chris, Wally, and Cook had a pretty good race going there for a while, so you know it was all pretty good.
It was pretty good indeed. Well, we'll see. Maybe they can bring it back together and we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes here.
All right. Jeff Napier, ladies and gentlemen, on the line there as we chat now down with one of our other boys here, Neil Quick in the number 2. And Neil, good to see you back here one more time here on the show as we get the season wrapped up. And speaking of wrapping things up, seems like you've been wrapping up quite a bit nicely here on the track here with the number 46, Chris Medford, staying right back on his rear corner there, keeping the airflow. How important is that airflow around the car here on a track like this for you guys?
Pretty good. You want to get to the left of them, make sure you get some air planted on your nose, and packs a little bit on their left rear, makes them a little bit loose, so works well. One of the things that does work well with these cars anyway.
Yeah, that's certainly the case indeed. So now with this one coming down longer in the run here, longer the form, I presume the stage is obviously not going to matter too much for points, but are they going to? How much do you think that they matter when it comes to keeping guys in line and really keeping them under control?
Well, I know most of us are here. I mean, especially the 4 guys out front. Main thing is just finish in front or get in front of each other to win the championship. In most of our cases, in my case, I don't care about the stages. I'm here to win. I don't care about those 4 guys. Feel like a little bit of Days of Thunder. I'm here to put it in victory lane, and really don't give a shit about those 4 guys tonight.
Strong words, but at the same time, I mean, can't quite blame you for the rest of it, Neil. Best of luck as you look to do just that, my friend, in the little Days of Thunder style.
Yeah, let's bring a little bit of Ricky Bobby in it. Shake and bake and let's go.
Fair enough. Thank you for your time, Neil.
Thanks, man.
I can tell, like I said, man, he's pretty much kind of had that drive and that mindset all season round, but I think a lot of it too just kind of boils down to literally what he went through back in the final eclipses, the final racing parts of this season, and now with this chance and this opportunity to really make or break his go. I think honestly that's kind of what he's been really trying to look and aim towards. Coming down off the edges and off the plains, race fans. Once again, we bring him off down turn number 4, back to the green flag, wave him high. Stage number 1 still needs to be completed. Aaron Smith will lead the back out for the first time today with Kevin McCann dealing with him right back behind him. Kevin now though running it deep into the bottom lane off the turf. Trying to hold it down, trying to stick this one on around a little bit. Both guys in a hot pursuit. Kevin taking the race lead over from Aaron Smith. Brian McCann watching out from behind here, just kind of speeding his opportunities, looking for shots. Chris Medford, much of the same, looking to possibly outsmart and outclass both boys here as he's looking for an opening and looking for a chance around. Neil Quick though, well, you heard him pretty much say it point blank, and He's not really going to care too much about this. He will go for broke. He will go for it all. Straight on around and takes full aim and full charge of these boys. He's kind of giving himself a lot of breathing room, giving himself a lot of time here. You can see Chris Medford just keeping a close tab on him as much as he's keeping a tab on everybody else. He knows he cannot find himself in a bad distance or a bad little angle here. Has to stay in the moment. Bumping the gas pedal down a little bit. Chris Medford looking to the inside. Got to run off here. Neil Quick pushing it back a little bit here as Chris Wally now makes his way through the ranks. Now making his way to the pack. He's got some serious speed up for grabs. Despite that little spin that Wally had earlier, it doesn't seem to be phasing him out too much right now. Even David Brown right now kind of getting some redemption runs here off the track and off the distance, looking to keep his way into the moment. A lot of guys right now that just want to really watch and take this one for grabs, take this one up on their edges and on the nose. And a lot of guys seem to be going towards the outside more than anything, it seems like now. A lot of them trying to stay away from going to the bottom if they don't have to, which is surprising to me because when we watched the race earlier on, they were all really staying towards the bottom lane. Now the strategies have kind of changed up and thrown themselves a bit of a curveball, if you will. Aaron Smith now faltering even further back in the pack, which is surprising to me because honestly, we were seeing him in that race lead earlier with no troubles whatsoever. Now it's completely throwing himself into a 180 curveball. He's trying to hang on though, as he's still got company coming up from behind. Remember, you don't have to be the race winner if you're the top four. You just need to make sure you finish ahead of the other guys here. And the laps winding down, this is starting to look more and more like it could go towards Ryan McCann here. Kevin McCann winning out this race stage. I think honestly he's kind of like what Neil Quick was saying earlier. He doesn't care about anything but the race win. That's all he wants. A little bit of a back and forth little battle here between Jeff Napier and Tim Schofield. Both guys kind of dead on the nose here, looking for their speeds, looking for their control on the track. Trying to hang on, trying to build up anything left they got up for the speeds to grab here. Everyone the stage comes, that will admittedly get everyone restacked, re-racked, repacked, and all that. And once again, it'll make things a little bit more interesting for the long haul, but makes you wonder though, you know, will they be able to hold these things online? Especially considering how tight it's getting around here. Chris Medford falling back a little bit. Looks like he might have took the tires up a little too hard. He needs to really start paying close attention to everything here and really watch himself. Falling this far back really could be a bit of a mess, a bit of a handful to work with. And Chris Wally, but really, honestly, it looks like he's kind of had enough of this season. I think he's trying to actually get a win in, and he's kind of what Neil Quick said earlier, just don't care, just go for the win. If you're a playoff guy, who cares? I don't even care for you. The playoff guys, they're like, well, we're trying to go for a win, we're also trying to win ahead of the other guys. Like, it's got really a big catch-22 here with this playoff system. Kevin McCann, though, right behind the number 5 of Chris Wally. Both guys literally kicking each other to the wire multiple times. But this is really the first time we've seen them both going back and forth with one another for actually the race lead. And Wally's still holding a pretty good launching pad off of number 33, Kevin McCann. Kevin's still not able to get ahead of him. Pace starting to thicken out a little bit here. Look at Aaron Smith as he now starts to make a little resurgence. He knows what the laps are, and he knows what he must do. I think honestly, if you're one of those championship 4, like we talked about with Schofield, Mefford, McCann, Smith, and them, I really do feel like though, as a driver, that kind of puts more weight and more pressure on you to actually not only just do good, but to perfect being good at that moment and at that time of the race. Because late into the season, late into this kind of battle here, this is just where you really feel the pressure. You really start to feel like you need to be better than good. You need to be better than perfect. You need to be better than everything if you want any chance to have the coveted championship title and crown. Yeah, a little bit of luck kind of goes in with it, but I think more than anything, it's all about just how you time and pace everything on the track. Kevin McCann, he's just a madman trying to get around that 5 Chris Wally. You can see he's trying to almost slide job him down there. David E. Brown playing a completely different strategy at Kevin. Well, Chris Wally just pushing this thing around. I'm honestly surprised right now. Chris Wally, you know, he's had some great showcases this season when he can get this car dialed in. He has not been able to get the car dialed in, though, for a good chunk of this season. And this one now looks like that might have completely changed and reversed. And David Brown even making a little bit of resurgence back in this pace and back in this field, showing everybody that if he had won last time out at Daytona, it might have been a different case and scenario here. The drivers out on the track. Coming up through right now here, Brian McCann getting closer and closer as he now works his way there with a 33. His family member Kevin right in front of him, now beside him as he goes top side, maybe looking to take the race lead away and take over position. Wally and Brown right now, both guys holding up the middle and the bottom lanes here, just working every ounce of this track up as good as they can. Caution flag flies on out though, and that is going to signify our stage end. Stage number 1 has come to a close. As I'm currently trying to figure out how the heck we get some of our system work come back online. You may have seen earlier on we're having some technical difficulties on our end. It's been a bit of a wild day, I'll just say that here, folks. I don't lie to the people or the fans out there. It's definitely been a wild one. That much I can definitely say and tell you. So, stage break wise, David Brown and Chris Wally, man, talk about literally just a complete reversal in position of power here and control on the track. But is that going to be able to last out long enough? There's only one true way to find out here as we get later in this race, later in this day. More times to be shown, more racing to be had here on PTM Racing TV. Tonight's race, ladies and gentlemen, for the season championship presented in part by our friends at Spartan Logistics Management LLC. By R&R Racewear, the official merch store for iRacing, as well from the IROC Challenge Series. For our Loud Pedal Gaming TV, smashing the loud pedal for your viewing entertainment. For SimSpeedShop.com. By Track Time Entertainment. And by 5 Star Graphics. Very big thank you from all the IROC Challenge Series, as well as from us here at PTM Racing TV. Field currently getting centered away for stage number 2 as they're under their practice lights right now. Time to take a listen in though, as we are joined by the number 5, Chris Wally here. And Wally, talk about a performance there, my friend, coming away huge with this race and huge for this position.
Yeah, man, we flipped up on the new tires there. They're just real slick, and then got an opportunity to get racing there. I don't know if the front 4 guys were keeping it safe because of the final 4 there in the championship that's being run, but car felt good for once.
Car must have felt good for once indeed, because I mean, even with the guys that you were talking about being on the top 4 for the podium in the championship, even the guys that weren't, like Kevin McCann, were still driving you hard, driving you quick, and yet you were still able to outmaneuver and outpace them here. I mean, does that kind of give you guys a little bit more of a confidence here coming in this next stage?
Yeah, a little bit. Might have messed up right here on the pit, thinking I'd be able to go one more lap and then pit, but we'll see.
For sure there. Well, nevertheless, Wally, we really appreciate your time here, sir, and we'll see if maybe this one can finally go your way for once.
Yeah, we'll see. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Chris Wally, ladies and gentlemen, the number 5, ready to get back to the action as he is currently gets squared away back up in the pace. And I'm not really sure how they're scoring David Brown here in the 7, because I believe he's supposed to be in the 2nd slot, but he is literally ahead of the whole field by a good margin of error here, to say the least. We'll have to see how they present it and fix this one up a little bit. There's definitely going to be a little bit of a workaround, I would say, the gas wise and position, but that just makes things a little bit more interesting here on the show. Might have been a little bit of an iRacing little timing issue. We've seen that happen before here on PTM Racing TV. And caution lights will pop back on out here, as they're currently still trying to debate and figure out what they're going to do here, what's going to happen, as David Brown currently is, I believe, being told to head to pit road and wait out for the guys. Chris Wally, you heard him say, though, did not enter into pit road because he, in his mind, made a bit of a boneheaded decision. I don't know if I would call it a boneheaded decision. I think it was just kind of one of those ordeals you don't really think too much about until it's kind of a little bit too late. Believe me, I had that earlier on back in the when I was racing earlier on in officials. I actually had kind of a similar scenario where I was driving through the corners with those those legacy pickup trucks, and I tell you what, man, they are a bit of a handful and a half to deal with sometimes. But yeah, running that thing on Phoenix and the legacy Phoenix track, that's something else, I'll tell you that as well. Field gonna look like they're just gonna kind of put them around here. Looks like they're still trying to get some order and some kind of debate here. Looks like the guys that did not go into pit road now will use that to their advantage. Yeah, they are really trying to figure out what they're gonna do here, because they are struggling to kind of keep the pace in control and the pace on charge right now. That's what they're struggling with. They're trying to get David Brown figured out here, guys. Field now relapsing back into their proper spots, their proper areas, or at least getting where they need to be here for the positions. So now the race can continue on. Those that went into pit road the latest there might just have the best field advantage here and the best chances here to really make or break something here up on the track. Coming off the distance here out of turn number 4, and it's time now at last to begin stage number 2. Setting them up, looking for the green. Green is out. We're back underway. Some interesting pit stops made, some interesting positions and track layout being put up for grabs here as the field now looks to take full control and full aim of this one. Kevin McCann, Brian McCann, Aaron Smith, and Neil Quick all wrapping up in the top 4. With the top 5 being David E. Brown rounded out. Brown currently just trying to stay within the range, stay in the focus here of these guys as the rest of our field are going to keep coming up through the ranks. Stage number 2 really going to bring, in my opinion, more emphasis on where they position the strategies and where they bring out all timing and all shots on the track. It's either the make or break scenario here for these drivers, and they know it too. Doug Wysocki coming up right behind that number 12 with Tim Schofield looking to take full control here. Has a lot of power and a lot of momentum coming up his wake. Knows it could get interesting here in the later stage. Tim Schofield really using some power and some wits to his advantages earlier. You saw him really making some good charges, some good runs, and making a very close call or two with these guys. And now I think he's just trying to do the same strategy, same kind of setup here as you saw the laps were kind of winding down. He may be able to use that to his advantage in the final stage. Whereas everyone else has to go in pit road by like lap 30, lap 35. He could just stay out the longest by simply taking it easier on the tires and the fuel run. And the mileage that he's going to get will vary between everyone else. But I think it may be enough actually to really outclass and outsmart the field. Caution flying out though. We got problems down there for number 22, Matt Kopp, as the 22 machine has come to a dead stop here in turn number 4. Kopp with some major problems here. You can see the same thing it kind of happened to Chris Wally earlier. That snap lock steering and then bam! Just kind of drove it right off and it smashes itself right into the wall protection there down in turn 4, unfortunately, and that's not where he wanted to put it at. You have to be so smooth, so precise with these cars But even that slightest little wrong tilt in the turn or a little slight tilt in the exit, this thing just goes for a ride and a half here. And unfortunately, that was the case here in this position. So field's gonna head into pit road. Everyone's gonna choose their spots, choose their timing, and see what they can deal with what they've got right now, tires wise and the fuel, all putting a factor in and really putting in a very tough little argument, a little ordeal for these guys to work around. But at the same time, it makes it that much more interesting to see. Field single filed out, double file them up. Next time by those, we get ready to get them back to the green here. Kevin McCann, Aaron Smith, currently your two front runners. Kevin McCann, no surprise here, has been pretty much the baron of all that is the holy for these drivers to have to work around, have to deal with here on the track. And he doesn't plan on quitting that out anytime soon here, I bet you. Halfway point now reached here as we get back to the action, back to the track. The last race of their season. We've done 2 full seasons with these guys, and every season has had some serious wow moments, some serious incredible positions and finishes and performances unlike any other, from Cinderella stories to just drivers that never had a chance or never had a fair shake, finally getting that monkey out their back and proving their point, while the dominant drivers, they always were going to be there, and you knew they were going to be coming out quick swinging no matter what in these races. This is truly why they call it the IROC Series. Anyone has a fair shake, anyone's got a fair chance at this racing style. And now, with the halfway point reached, we near the end of this season. Filing the draft line off right now. Kevin McCann has now moved around a little bit, trying to do what he saw Chris Wally do to him earlier on. Trying to dictate the pace. If he can control the pace, control the momentum, that's really one of the biggest things that you can ask for. To kind of keep up the distance, kind of keep yourself in that hunt. Coming up through the ranks right now, Wysocki, Schofield having a little bit of a battle here as they start to move the chains back in a few spots, moving them running around those same areas here. As Quick in the 54 kind of intervenes a little bit with them. Quick, I'm not surprised really with how he's performed here, that he's been kind of right in with these guys throughout this racing thing, throughout these series. He's been kind of a bit of a head scratcher though when it comes to consistency. As I was always told, sometimes you gotta look at the glass half empty, half full with some of these cats, because they can be either chaotic good or they can be chaotic evil, and you don't even know what the heck they're gonna be doing out there. And that's kind of how it's playing out here in this case. Down off the track right now. Everybody looking for that last ditch effort of speed. Smith right now at the top of the final four is currently the headmaster chef of them all, as Mefford follows behind Brian McCann and Smith as well, with Schofield kind of holding up the front half of this pack right now. Currently just looking to stay in charge and stay on the playing field here and just make sure he doesn't worry about anything else but the race itself. Kevin McCann way ahead of the field, way ahead of the positions down, just continuously starting to crank up and really build the speed back up into his favor. As we saw this earlier on, and even Neil Quick in the number 2 kind of coming up through his planes, through up to the positions. I think he really is wanting to make things a lot more difficult for these guys, especially considering how difficult they made it for him in the final legs of this series and this season's really. The 2 right now you see on your screen, they're both at a unique story with the same purpose. looking to be the only driver out of this entire league and this entire series of races to be able to craft 2 crowns to their name from the season title holders. Both have come so far before, both have come one step behind, but Aaron Smith, when he came onto the scene, really, a lot of people had questioned if anybody was able to beat him out. Well, these next gens certainly had made him met his match just a little bit, but that does not necessarily mean that he was without competition beforehand. He obviously had to really take it to the limit with Kevin McCann and Brian McCann on the track, and even guys like Neil Quick, Cook Quick, and the Meffords, Chris and Brandon Mefford, they always had something up their sleeve to make it that much more difficult for him out on that track, and he knew it every time he raced it out. Field getting one step behind, one step on the nose as the rest of them continue to drive in, drive quick. You know, Kevin, with how much speed he's starting to get around the track, continue around the place here, I would wonder if he's actually able to really watch his timing and watch that speed that he's built up without damaging the truck or really damaging his car out here, I should say. If I had to guess, I probably would think that more than anything, the motion of the control of the car is really being held up, really being based upon down with also the drafting speeds he's getting from Brian McCann, as well as Aaron Smith here. Jeff Napier in the 40 now having a little bit of company here as the 12. Tim Schofield comes up. The ranks coming up through the positions here, looking to try to take him on. Napier right now being used up there from Schofield's draft, trying to get him some push, trying to get him some shove and up to the front here, maybe look for some angles or some area to work around, but no dice yet. You're quick. Going back into his own here as he looks to contain the speed, to contain the aero draft and speed that is out hit the seat. Still without a position though, and still without really a home, if you will, that comes coming right back at these guys and taking them on. winding down here. We're nearly at the 50 lap marker left to go, and really what a shocker it's been just to see how far we've come and how far we've been put in this position. Now only to know that chances are that we could be even going further and further into the madness and further into the deeper end spectrum that is our racing world. Aaron Smith kind of watching back behind here. Brian McCann, he looks to maybe grab a position or two off from him here soon enough. He's been kind of laying back low of them. Doug Wysocki, Cook Quick, even now back in this little battle here. Cook Quick looking to maybe drive it down on the inside line here off of turn number 3, down turn 4, going straight for the bottom. And that's where most of the speed's going to be. If you're probably wondering at home, why is it that's where most of the speed is? Well, you gotta remember when you're racing on tracks like these, you want to shorten that 2 miles up as much as possible, while also making the track a little bit more clairvoyant for the long haul. The distance here, the travel of the gain, travel of the positions can be very enticing and very tough to grab and master with, but the best drivers will find it eventually, and they'll find it where they need to. Still kind of staying in that single file draft right now. Here's Kevin, Brian McCann, Aaron Smith. They are in the top for Neil Quick though, with that no beats to be had attitude. I can't really cuss on television, so but you can probably guess what he said earlier on if you're probably wondering what I'm referring to. Looking to take full aim and power onto the track here. Lap starting to click away here once again, though. You can just see the speeds have been so consistent. The speeds have been just kind of really enamoringly wise. They've been more toned, if you will, kind of what we were expecting out of these cars and expecting out of the guys, but they still haven't really tried to go for big moments or any big speeds or in the distance yet. They've been really just watching themselves more and more. Still not a whole lot of change here as we've now finally approached our final position here. This is time for the final 50 laps of the season championship stake. The season championship hunt as we take a look at our best lap times right now on your showcase here. Coming down off the front end here, it is Kevin McCann, Brian McCann, Aaron Smith, Neil Quick, and Chris Mefford, top 5. Fastest time set earlier on. This was at a pinnacle and a pretty solid little speed here. But Kevin McCann, without a shadow of a doubt, has got a whole lot of speed with that 41.23, but it's only third fastest, if you can believe it, to the 42, or excuse me, to the second fastest, I should say, to one of a natured 41.19. And who might have laid that one down? Well, might be the guy that didn't really give 2 hoots earlier. That's the number 2, Neil Quick, as Kevin McCann heads into pit road. Aaron Smith, Brian McCann staying out. Hard to believe, but yeah, Neil Quick actually laying down the fastest time, and he's been pretty consistent when it comes to hanging with these boys. So if anything, race win wise, very, very possible, I will say. McCann and Smith were literally moking up at the top spot in the top position, and also the final leg of their racing careers. These two will not give an inch to one another. They will not give anything out to the other here, and they are continuously driving the pack in, looking for everything they got, and looking for the last minute efforts and the positions they can put up here. Field distanced out, separated out once again here, but remember that final stage break still yet to happen, still yet to come up, and that could really make things very more difficult and tricky here for these drivers, and they know it. They're just currently trying to find the last piece of their strategy, the last bit of their puzzle, to which then maybe it could mean the difference between survival and, well, frankly, just losing it all out on the line. Field coming up on the edges here. Chris Walling having to deal with some pit stops earlier on, having some troubles getting into pit road and dealing where he was at. Neil Quick way behind pace, way behind the leaders here as they currently are starting to stretch out further and further. Brian McCann just continuing to hold back Aaron Smith. Smith having to literally stand behind him the entire race, looking on from a distance, just trying to hope for some luck here. Schofield did say earlier on he wasn't really sure, honestly, if his strategy or his performance was going to be enough to walk away or really take his position home for a championship stake with about 41 laps left to go. Well, frankly, anything is very much possible here. It could go either way for him. But he needs some help and he needs a hand big time here. And with that, the yellow pops out, and we are heading in to the final stage. And when we come back, we're going to find out who will take it home. The final four have now set their pace and set their tone, but this is where it all comes down to it. Chris Medford, Brian McCann, Aaron Smith, and Tim Schofield will have one more chance to prove they are the best driver and the best of this series. In this playoffs predicament, this playoffs finish, a Final Four champion will be crowned when we come back here on PTM Racing TV. Tonight's race, ladies and gentlemen, here for the iRacing IROC Challenge Series, presented in part by our friends at Spartan Logistics Management LLC. By R&R Racewear, the official merchandise store for iRacing, as well as from the iRacing Challenge, IROC Challenge Series. By Loud Pedal Gaming TV, smashing a loud pedal for your viewing entertainment. By SimSpeedShop.com. By Track Time Entertainment. And by 5-Star Graphics, a very big thank you from us here at PTM Racing TV, as well as from the IROC Challenge Series. We've got crew, as you have supported them throughout this entire season, throughout all the thick and span, the ups and the downs, and the highs and the lows. They cannot thank you enough, nor can we thank you enough for everything. And to you fans out there that stayed tuned with us and stayed with us for all this time, we thank you in large part as well. coming off pit road, and it looks like it's going to be the three of Brian McCann beating out Aaron Smith from the one, so that will now set the pace up as Chris Mefford gets into the third spot, and Neil Quick getting the elusive fourth slot. Kevin McCann still in pit road as he's getting his tires taken care of here, as well as the rest of the crew right now currently down in that pit stop for the drag race here. And it looks like the boys are going to make one more pit stop here. Looks like they want to try to get the most amount of fuel, the most amount of tires they can. Hopefully grab as much time as they can get from this track and from this position. They know where the fuel lines are. They know where the cells are going to be at. Every lap could mean the difference between success or failure here. This one's rolling closer and closer to the big moment at hand, the big stake on the line. Into the distances here. We have got the lights still on the pace car here as the drivers are currently getting squared up, back in position, back ready to go for what could very well be their start and end game positions. For Brian McCann, this one will mean a lot to him if he can somehow find a way to stretch this out and pull it off. Aaron Smith, though, gonna find himself in a little bit of a rut here, as he's gonna have to work some positions and work some magic around the track. Same for like Schofield as well. Chris Mefford, the only other guy that really, in my opinion, has a very good opportunity and a very good chance here to strike. And at last, the pace car has set the field up. And it looks like Chris Medford's going to get a bit of a big break here. Brian McCann going into the back a little bit. Now has to deal with that position and that shot here. Medford is literally in the best area he can think of, but has he got enough long run potential? Does he have enough control to dictate the pace? He's about to figure this out. Will he have it all? He's come so close so many times. This one's where he doesn't need to come close. This is the one where he needs to literally win this one out. The championship side line. Here we go. Championship on the line. Only 34 laps left. Down into the turns, down to the corners they go here. All drivers now making their way around the playing field. Aaron Smith already though to the outside, using a little bit of workaround with the 33 Kevin McCann. Now speed's bolstered up, and the one of Smith a little bit loose off the corner, trying to stabilize it. Does indeed, but Kevin McCann right there with him, almost get himself out of shape. As the same man went for Ray Radford, way down low into the axe stretch of turn 4. Turn 2, I should say, got swung around, thrown out a little bit into a bad spot. Aaron Smith getting ahead of Medford, but Medford, I guarantee you, not really waiting to get back at him just yet. I think he's being very conservative here. Just trying to watch where he goes with this and where he wants to play this out. Those the positions are going to be mighty fine tough and mighty fine tremendous here to have to work around. Brian McCann though, right on the clutch turn, right off the front straightaway, looking for the inside corner. Driving in thick, trying to make it stick. Looking for the opening. And he'll get the opening right back on position. Neil Quick now moving up for the change as well, making things a little bit more difficult for the top 4 drivers. So much control and so much momentum, really coming in full tilt, full circle. Dive down quick, dive down fast. Tim Schofield right now out of the top 4 might be the only one that is going to be knocked out of this one completely. He has all but fell a lap down and fell behind the 8 ball. The cursed dreaded spot to throw himself into, and he knew it. But again, what a performance and a career making season for him and his crew. He gave it everything he had and then some. Driving him quick through. Ryan McCann trying to get through the rest of the field to get to the man that he's been trying to take down this entire season. Aaron Smith with a lead and a half. Kevin McCann, though, running away from the entire field, looking to win this race out entirely and on his way to victory. Deep here and all them moving back around their waist. You're moving right around the corners here. Everyone going for broke, going for big when they can. And knowing that they have only so many laps left here to go, that's really kind of making things more and more difficult by the minute. Aaron Smith, Brian McCann, for maybe perhaps the last time this season. Now face off in a heated final conclusion, final last minute dash battle for the ages. And Smith now opening the door up. McCann working his way to the inside. One more time by with only some laps, so only a set amount of laps to go. Smith and McCann could separate these two out from one another here and now. Brian McCann may have taken position over from Aaron Smith for now, but is not going to be able to last out the entire rest of this race, you wonder. He knows he's only got a select amount of time and select amount of places to be put into. The laps are continuously starting to drive quicker and quicker by the minute as Kevin McCann keeps going further into the distance. Neil Quick looking to get one last little set of revenge, a little last set, a speed boost to put under his nose and under his regards. Turns to 21 laps left. And Auto Club Speedway, really for the first two stages, did not quite live up to what I thought maybe you'd see from these drivers and see from these positions, but as time went on, we got late into the run. Of course, like everything here, some things just change and they will get better over time. It certainly did get better over time. It got a little bit more rambunctious. Chris Medford, the 46, trying hopefully for one last little ditch effort, one last little position off here. Let's take a look at the lap times here between him and Neil Quick here. And you can see Medford is getting a little bit of ground here back on Neil's run, back on that draft zone. Trying to force the airflow around the car to kind of push back forward ahead into that from the nose to the back rear wing there. And that rear spoiler, as small as it is currently what's helping keep airflow and power up for these guys and these drivers, and that's what's making this very, very interesting here, to say the least. Try to direct all that speed, that power back underneath the hood, back underneath the track, as they continue to get one step into the nose and into the edges of it all. Laps left. Kevin McCann started to slow up just a little bit in the 33. Brian McCann is right back on his bumper, looking to keep it away from him. Brian maybe looking to not only win out the final four in an entire camaraderie, but also looking to literally take this one to the edge and take this one to the full stability of control. He has given it everything he's got, and then some, with the power and speeds underneath him. Kevin slowing down a little bit. Looks like it's time for his family member Brian to take full aim at him, but how is he going to make a pass around him, knowing that Aaron Smith was also going to watch for him to make that certain move, make that certain time shot here and go for it. So much topsy-turvy right now, and so much speed underneath them, and a lot of the other guys right now way too far back in the packs here. Schofield, we mentioned earlier on, really his race kind of coming to an end here unless he can get a little bit lucky, get a caution, and get some help from the boys there, which I don't see happening anytime soon. That'd be the only way he would have any chance to possibly take this one over from these guys, as that Brian McCann actually has now made the pass around Kevin McCann here in the 33. Kevin not holding back though. If you thought really he was going to hold back on his brother, then you really must be clearly mistaken. Brian will have no trouble dealing with Kevin here as long as he has to. Kind of wonder too for Smith wise, is he looking at maybe just waiting out the longest position, the longest time here, knowing that he's going to have to really strengthen his speeds and strengthen his control. He's in a very complicated spot. He's either got two options: go big and go for broke, or literally have to work every end of the track and every angle off the positions. laps left. And a tight, close corner injunction right now between the guys and the mix in this packs here as they look for everything they can and the speed and the dilemma. The other guys right now currently separated out by a good margin here. Chris Wally pretty much kind of down and out. Matt Kopp down and out. With David E. Brown has left the building here in the 7. And it's surprising to see here considering how well he was driving earlier on. Matt Kopp's damage on that front end so severe. And Wally pretty much kind of the same way. Both guys out on the pit road struggling to get anything back underneath them. Ray Radford has ups and his downs here. A lot of his plate track racing though was definitely something to behold, something to see, and I also would say the same thing for Cook Quick, but all around it seemed like they had a little bit of a tough time finding the perfect tracks, the perfect places to get it going at, and that seemed to be the case all day. Doug Wysocki, we always talked about just kind of his style of racing and his kind of way of life, always looking at things just a little bit more in the fun light. Whereas he didn't really take this race too seriously, didn't really take anything too over the top compared to some other guys out there, of course. It's not to say that it can't be a bit of a wild little head butt, a little bit of a head little run, head rusher, head fielded into play. Times clipping up here with 11 laps left to go. We are coming closer now with 10. And I can see here Aaron Smith is looking to try and find a little bit of a push start at that 3 of Brian McCann. We're also getting around that 33 of Kevin McCann. When will he go for the absolute fire, the big punch, the final move that he needs to do? Ryan, though, is consistently hitting his marks, hitting his laps around the track, though. I mean, that could be extremely difficult to work around here. Kevin and Brian have had their wars before in the mile and a half, and they've had some pretty wild, frenetic positions between one another throughout their times on the show and throughout their times in the races, but hard to believe. We come into this and we come into position with this final end, and this is where everything just boils down to the biggest shots, making the biggest runs that you can take in any kind of car, in any kind of sport, any kind of world, in a professional atmosphere. A mere 8 laps, lap traffic. Now a factor. Ray Radford staying in the top side as Brian McCann gets right up under the nose of him. Kevin McCann going to do much of the same. Gets around him. Now will Aaron Smith be able to get around him as well? The end game is in sight, and the end is truly near. McCann still working every bit of this track with only 6 laps left, and Aaron Smith starting to fade. We were wondering and constantly just figuring out whether or not this was going to be the position and the struggle that these guys had to worry about. Brian McCann now dealing with Kevin McCann right behind him here, looking for a position or two and looking for a strangle in the arms and in the positions. Not a whole lot left really to update and upgrade on the track. And Kevin now making it a little bit more difficult on Brian. Looks like these two just have no situations left to really give out in or left to give up for. They just want to have a little fun and make this one broke as can be. The McCanns have been in this position before. They've been through this many times as well. Kevin was looking for a championship last season. Brian kind of fell behind the waistline here, kind of fell behind everyone in the last bit. But all had changed and all had encompassingly become more apparent in the last bit of last season. Now everything has been put into this moment, put into this chance here. Brian and Kevin dueling in out one more time. Aaron Smith is literally not a non-factor anymore. There's only 3 laps left. Is Kevin possibly setting up a little fight off here between him and Aaron? Kevin's got to be careful though, because if he makes things very difficult for Brian, it will get very out of control and very hard to really take into consideration here. 2 to go. Green flag high in the air. Two laps left. It will turn into 1 lap to go this next time by. Brian McCann and Kevin McCann, the one last duel of the McCanns, and how fitting we end this championship season off with those two going at it one more time. Aaron Smith hoping and praying Brian makes a mistake or gives him some kind of opening, gives him something to think about. But as they lead him off down into turn number 2, there is nothing there yet. Kevin running it right back through. Into the end zone of turn 3. Down at turn number 4. One more time by to the end. And at long last, we can crown a champion no matter how that one goes, because Brian McCann is going to win the season championship. He's your champion down in the final stretch. The title belongs to Brian McCann. And for the first time in this league, in this series history, a multi-time season champion winner has been crowned. And it will go to the boys down in North Carolina. Brian McCann is your season champion. This one you just knew means a lot to him and his crew, and we talked with him earlier on about that and what it would mean, and he was looking for all of it here, and he finally got all of it and then some. A big, big victory for him and his crew, as he will be the season champion, crowned ahead of his team, of his family member and longtime rival, if I guess you could say, Kevin McCann. Family members will stay 1 and 2 tonight. Aaron Smith, though, give the man his due, give the man his credit. Another great and performance season. He defended his championship with pride and honor, but it was not enough to take down the boys that came up on top here. But still, a 4th place finish for Neil Quick as well. He said he was going to go for the win. Well, I didn't really find enough time to get in that position or find time to get in there, but he certainly gave all he had and then some here on the track. Chris Medford goes 5th as well, putting up a great performance. 6th to Doug Wysocki, 7th to Jeff Napier, 8th to Cook Quick, 9th to Tim Schofield. And, even though he's a top 4 driver, he just could not get it figured out here on the track, but he certainly gave it quite the show and quite the running just to even get here, so full credit where credit's due to him. And Ray Radford, what can you say about him except getting a top 10 to end out his season? Pretty much a high note, to say the least. At last, race fans, the final time this season we get to do this. Your top 3 join me in the interview booth. And Smith, coming away here, was the defending champion with the crown. You have to surrender it this year. But Aaron, congratulations on a 3rd place finish yet again, and another strong season and race get-go for you and this crew. I gotta be at least happy with the results. Knowing how well everything went this season, just didn't quite pull the championship off, is all it really was.
Yeah, you certainly can't complain about a 2nd place finish in the championship. I was surprised I was able to hold on to 3rd there. I destroyed my right front tire in the beginning of that run. I don't know what I did differently from the rest of the race, but it just plowed the entire last, 35 laps? But yeah, it was a fun race there at the end, and I don't know. I should have given Brian a little bit more of a fight there when he came to pass me on the inside, but it is what it is. I'll take my 2nd place.
I presume you really weren't really thinking too much about the overall logistics and the overall timing of that kind of scenario, so you really was, I think it was kind of more or less just kind of let the car do its own thing, and then everything would kind of falter back as most of the time it has done this season, right?
Yeah, I was so used to those the looser setups and better track temperatures over the course of the season, and the cooler track temps tonight with the night races just completely screwed me up. So I should have been ready for that, should have known better, but unfortunately, it just left a little bit to be desired there at the end.
Maybe a little bit desired, but hey, a 2nd place finish overall in the season championship stake and 3rd overall in this race today. I gotta believe, still have to be happy with that. So Smith, as you come away 3rd, who do you want to thank for all this, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the folks at the IROC Challenge for putting the show on. Everyone in the race for putting on a decent show. Not sure how many cars we had tonight, but hopefully we get some more for the season opener next season. But I'd like to thank you for broadcasting. All the folks for watching. Looking forward to getting back at it next season and taking what's mine.
Absolutely. Well, Smith, nevertheless, here as you relinquish the crown, it was a pleasure to have you as the champ for quite a time here. Congratulations on this season, and we hope to see you out sometime in the future, sir.
All right, thank you.
Aaron Smith, ladies and gentlemen, taking the chat time talk with us here as we bring in now of the 33, the 2nd place finisher today, Kevin McCann here will walk away. And Kevin, you and your family members, man, just seem to not want to leave each other alone, even when there's a title on the line here, sir.
Yeah, I can't just hand it to them. I got to make them work for it. So, once there at the end of the race, I was like, there's not that much pressure from behind. So I think I made him more nervous than I wanted to, or than he wanted. But I felt like we needed to, fight it out. Last race of the season, uh, you know, try my best for something not to happen to take him out. But can't just hand it to him.
You definitely can't just hand it to him, and you certainly proved that nothing is ever handed in motorsports or in the racing world, and you definitely gave him quite a show there. But nevertheless, as well, when you were getting down to the end, getting down the wire, the tires, I gotta presume, were pretty much kind of cooked and beaten up too much to where you really had any chance to kind of get a run on these guys at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, passing on, old tires is definitely really tricky. It was one of the harder things to do tonight. I spent most of my race in clean air though, so there toward the end when I I got behind Brian. I had to relearn how to drive in dirty air. So that was a bit challenging. But the other thing tonight was fuel strategy, man. It was all about fuel strategy. Um, I got it wrong in the second stage, as you could see. Finished back in like 10th, but it got close there toward the end. We were saving fuel in that final stint, and I think some guys were able to make it stretch, and some weren't. So saving fuel on ovals is pretty tricky and to go fast, and we we ran out pretty much right after the line. So definitely a good strategy race tonight. A good one to end it on.
Yeah, it certainly is indeed. And Kevin, as we talk to you for the final time this season here, I know this second place finish has been something you and your brother have been swapping back and forth on the first and second podium all this season. So who do you want to thank for all this tonight?
Yeah, just again thank the organizers, Chris and Kyle, for putting on the league, and all the sponsors, Spartan Logistics, R&R Racewear, all those guys that put on the show. Thank you guys for broadcasting, and thank you to all those guys that showed up to every race here, especially in the end. Having a lot of guys out there that are fast to run around definitely makes the league worth it. So just appreciate those guys coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, nevertheless, Kevin, we really appreciate your time and support here, sir. Best of luck as maybe we'll see you down the road here in the future, sir.
Yep. See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin McCann at 33, walking away with the elusive second as the man that will take our championship home. Once again, the only driver to get 2 titles of the season championship stakes. In this league, it goes to Brian McCann and the big number 3. And Brian, what a performance in a career-making run here for you and your crew. And to top it off, you get to take down Kevin one more time. But I gotta believe you were literally, as you said, just dead set on controlling the narrative and making sure you watched every little spot and every little piece of this track to the end, weren't you?
First off, woo! Second, I turned some practice laps before this race. I usually don't, but I did for this one, obviously. I focused on a tight track and making sure my long runs was good, and that is what allowed me to get the championship, I believe.
It was a very tight little track. Got a little pretty wildy there a little bit near the end, but when you made that pass around Kevin and you got to taste that clean air, as we heard Kevin say he had adjusted the dirty air, for you in the clean, how much of adjustment was it for you to just take this one away from him?
Yeah, I was worried about that because the whole race I didn't have any. I always had somebody in front of me, and then I think it was in stage 2 I got out and was able to lead some laps, and that was my opportunity to learn there. And he is definitely correct. It drives a whole lot different. But before all that, I learned very well how to follow somebody and get a good run on them, so that helped out as well.
Certainly did indeed, and nevertheless, as you come away with the elusive crown and also with finally 2 titles to your name, I have to ask you, McCann, who do you want to thank for this, sir?
My wife, my family, everybody watching tonight, you guys for doing the broadcast, the race admins, Chris, Wally, Kyle, whoever else helps them out, and definitely our sponsors. Sponsors are a big part of this. Just want to thank everybody who helps.
For sure they definitely are, and they definitely have done a number for you and your crew, but you have also presented yourself in quite the manner to bring this one home for a championship. Brian, congratulations on all this, sir. Well earned and deserved, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brian McCann in the number 3 takes the elusive 2 titles and gets it at last. And this will end out our season right here on PTM Racing TV. And from all of us here at PTM Racing TV and everyone that has supported the show, from our friends at Spartan Logistics Management LLC, R&R Racewear, Loud Pedal Gaming TV, SimSpeedShop.com, Track Time Entertainment, and 5-Star Graphics for all your support, for all you've done. Thank you for everything, and thank you to the iRacing IROC Challenge Series for having us come on board for all these races. We will see you guys in the near future, we hope. As for all of us here at PTM Racing TV, we thank and appreciate you. We love you fans out there for tuning in. We hope to see you in the future as well. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's action.